Hi there, this is Stephen Keith from CX Pilots. Super happy to have you with us today. Today's webinar is how to design empathy into AEC client interactions. AEC obviously being architects, engineers, construction. It's a sector that CX Pilots specializes in. We're here today to share something that we've presented a lot on stages across the US, but have been asked several times to put this in some sort of webinar format for broader audiences. So that's what we're doing today. Again, glad to have you aboard, and let's jump right in. So there is a key to injecting greater empathy into your client interactions, and that's what we're going to be going over today. And the thing that we're using to do that is called the CX checklist. So we've done this over the course of probably 16, 17 years, and we've learned a lot about how organizations, firms in AEC space do this. And what we've learned about this is that your clients want experiences that recognize who they are uniquely. And designing empathy into your client experience is the way that you retain these relationships. So if you're coming at CX as a means to reduce your client churn, or you have other more specific retention metrics that you're interested in, this is the right place for you to be today. The CX checklist is essentially the thing that we have developed over years in helping clients of ours achieve, the benefits and gains that CX can offer them. The checklist is the specific tool that we've developed that we're going to share with you today. The reason why we've done this is because we've been in the trenches with dozens of firms, large and small, and learned where specific retention efforts have stalled out, and have subsequently developed tools, methods, resources to help our clients in the AEC space deal with some of these challenges. So this is important because we all know that CX is mission critical. There's no debate really left there, not that we're aware of any longer. Everybody knows that they need to invest in it. The question is, how do you invest in it, and where do you put your precious time and resources to get the greatest gains in the shortest amount of time? What we know is that in order for you to keep pace with your clients' expectations, you have to sort of become a new form of company. You have to figure out how to think, plan, deliver, react and respond to circumstances in new ways. And you have to do that at scale. And that's one of the things that this enables your firm to do. So we also like to say that the checklist, the thing that we're going to be sharing with you today, is it has become extremely valuable from our client's perspective, but it's also something that needs to be thought of as training wheels. Like with this stuff that we're going over today is going to help you look at how to inject more empathy into your client interactions, but you don't need to use the checklist forever. The checklist helps you understand what the universe of interactions looks like, how your client thinks about it, and how to nail it every time. But you don't have to use the checklist. You can basically move beyond it once it becomes second nature, and your organization starts to think with one systematic, purposeful mindset. The bottom line really is that you do this because your client's expectations are rising faster than you're likely able to keep up with. And all of your clients are unique, so you can't really create a one systematic approach to dealing with every client because their circumstances are always going to be different, and you either adapt to that or you don't. And the extent to which you adapt to their unique circumstances will largely determine your retention. So what we like to say is the only thing that your clients have in common is the rate at which their expectations of you are rising. So that's a pretty important statement from our perspective. So we've developed an overarching framework to help our clients in the AEC space develop and sustain the benefits of CX. But today we're really just going to focus on this part of it. So the place where we're focusing on the client's interaction most specifically. First, let's look at what's going on in terms of meeting expectations. So from an abundance of research and studies on our part and others, we've been able to learn that in order for firms to meet their clients' expectations, it generally takes about 7 years. So, if you think about the duration of a project, over several projects, if you're doing things right, before you get to that point where you're measurably meeting the expectations of your client, it's going to take a little over 6.5 years. The blue line on top is the killer here because when we measure the firm's perception of how well they're doing, it's way higher than what the client believes is the case. So a lot of us have heard the stat that 80% of firm executives believe they're delivering superior experiences, while only 8% of their clients agree. Well, this is how it plays out. What we've been able to learn is that there's a way to trim about 5.5 years off of this average. And it turns out that empathy is your gas pedal. So if you want to accelerate the rate at which you are meeting your client's expectations and keep your firm perception of how well you're doing in check, it turns out that empathy is the way to get there. So when we talk about empathy, you think, okay, I understand what empathy is. Empathy is basically how well we can sympathize with our client, how well we can identify with the situation they're in, and and act on that. You would be correct. However, you would not have a comprehensive idea of what we're talking about in terms of empathy. So when we talk about the CX checklist, what we're talking about is an ecosystem of thinking and acting on in terms of how you're working with your clients. So if you have 1,000 employees in your firm and 700 of them are directly facing the client, you have 700 opportunities and responsibilities to really step up and meet the expectations of those clients on any given day. So moving forward, let's figure out how we do that. So when we talk about an interaction, we're talking about any time where your brand interfaces with your client. So an interaction could be a phone call, it could be an email, a text, a conversation. It could be the delivery of an artifact, like a plan, a blueprint, a design schematic, or anything. And we know that when we map this out, when we map out all interactions that you have over the course of a project, it could be in the thousands. It typically is. So there's a lot of surface area there. Each interaction, so think about any one specific interaction, an email, a conversation. Let's use, a conversation in a meeting, for example, as an interaction. That's going to have four components. And those four components are the modality, which is the staging and timing wrapped around every single interaction, the logical side, the emotional side, and what remains in the memory of your client over time, the enduring impact of the interaction. So here's what that looks like. So when we're thinking about an interaction, again, the example we're using is you in a meeting with the client, there's a lot of stuff to think about. And a lot of people that we work with say, you know what, we've been doing this for 60 years. We're pretty good at figuring this out, which we never doubt. We just like to call into question the extent to which you're thinking about the whole comprehensive ecosystem of the interaction. And the more you understand about this, the better off you are. So let's go through these. The modality is the staging and timing wrapped around every interaction. The logical side is the mechanical rigor that you apply to every single interaction. The emotional is the psychological rigor you apply to every interaction. And the enduring impact is the things that tend to stay in the client's memory. So we have modality, logical, emotional, and enduring impact. Those are the four components of every interaction. The modality tends to be the thing that throws people off the most, because a lot of people, when you're thinking about you sitting in a meeting with someone, you're not thinking about all of the steps that are wrapped around every interaction. It's just not natural for us to think about this. But when you start to study how things unfold and you become conscious of them, you can start to manipulate those factors, which in turn create more positive experiences. So let's just go through these really quickly. The modalities are the opening, how you choose to open up the interaction. And each of these subcomponents of modalities have a lot of substance here. So the client's thinking, are you friendly, relatable, competent, reliable, etc.? They're noticing things like your opening, your greeting, how you're welcoming them, your body language, are you credible? Are you telling me the truth, etc.? You have to be thinking about how are you addressing them? How are you opening it up? How well are you making them feel comfortable? Plugging in. So we had opening. The second one is plugging in. Are you plugging into the client and their unique circumstances? Are you demonstrating that you're aware of where they're coming from? So the client's noticing things about your voice and how you're addressing them, the pace and inflection, the words you're using, etc. You have to be thinking about how well are you plugging into their situation. Third one is exchanging. Are you exchanging information in a way, in a manner and format that the client feels that demonstrates that they're unique and they're valuable to you, and so on. So they're thinking, are we making progress here? Are you showing me that you're listening to me? They're noticing your empathy statements, how well you're connecting and trading information of value. Nailing it is essentially in this interaction. Are you cutting to the chase? Are you adapting to what we've shared? Are you staying positive and thinking, empathetically about, empowering me, enabling me, using your knowledge to help me succeed? Unifying. Are we pulling everything together on on the client's behalf? Are you, they're thinking like, are you helping me succeed right now? And they're noticing, how are you distilling progress down in a way that makes them feel comfortable? How are you demonstrating that you're aware and in control of their budget and time frame in a way that's going to make them successful? So you need to be thinking about, are you explaining things in ways that demonstrate that you fully understand all the circumstances, that you're in control and you're pulling things together? And lastly, the last thing in modality is preparing. So to what extent are you helping them understand what's next? And, do you have a positive, forward moving approach to help them understand and feel comfortable in the moment, and making them feel like what's happening next is not going to be a surprise, and that you've got that stuff under control. So we have gone through modalities. The emotional pillars, like we said earlier, is the psychological rigor that we apply. So when you do any one of these things, it's positive, but when you do all six, it's extraordinarily positive and extraordinarily valuable. Personalization. So how well are you personalizing this interaction in a way that demonstrates that you're not a robot that is focused on a process, but instead you're a empathetic, kind, understanding person who understands exactly what circumstances and challenges your client's going through. Expectations. So how well are you thinking about what they might be expecting in this interaction? How well are you delivering and exceeding their idea of what should be happening right now? Empathy. A lot of people, when they think of empathy, they think, they conflate that with sympathy. Like, if something bad is happening, am I demonstrating that I care? But empathy is really the extent to which you're able to put yourself in their shoes, across all the different things that could be impacting the project. Integrity is essentially, are you saying things to help move through the moment, or are you actually paying attention and doing what they perceive to be the right thing? So are you following things because it's a process? Are you, or are you, looking at them in the eye and assuring them that your behavior is going to demonstrate the utmost trustworthiness? It's very important. Resolution. We all make mistakes. We all have something to recover from. This is absolutely critical. When something goes wrong, this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate that you really care about the outcome. And this is where, tactful apologies happen, and where you do what's right to ensure that they understand that you're on the same team as them. And then time and effort. Are you spending their time and effort in a way that makes them feel like you are on their team? Are you removing obstacles and impediments and, dealing with bureaucracy in a way that that's valuable to them? On the logical side, this is where 90% of firms start and stop. So they are thinking about meeting expectations, communicating effectively, being accessible. So creating the feeling that if I need you, you'll be there. Dependability, are you consistently following through? Schedule compliance, are you following the schedule that has been set forth and shared? Responsiveness, similar to accessibility but different. Accessibility is, do I feel like you're going to be there? Responsiveness is, are you actually there when I need you? Quality is, essentially, is the work product meeting standards? Expertise, are you demonstrating that you remain the best choice long after you've been awarded the project? Do you understand their needs? Are you recovering as well as you could? Are you innovating in a way that makes them feel like they've made the best choice and that they're going to be able to take advantage of your industry knowledge in ways that they couldn't with other competitors? And are they essentially getting the best value for the cost? Now we get to the enduring impact. So let's talk about the role of your client's memory. What we've learned is what happens first to your client becomes the lens through which they evaluate what happens next. If you majorly flub up the first part of the project, it's going to remain indelible in their memory that that's very likely to happen again. And that's something that you just have to acknowledge. If you flub up in the first part of the project, you have to remain in recovery mode. Unfortunately, we've seen it happen a lot. It's not the end of the world. It's something that you have to acknowledge. It is totally recoverable. But what's important is what happens last. The last thing that happens in client relationships is most likely to be the thing that they remember. So that's why recovery is so important. If you make major mistakes in the beginning, yes, it's going to impact their expectations moving forward, but it's how you recovered. And it's the last thing that you've done that makes them feel a sense of comfort. There's a thing called peak end theory, which says that your client's going to hold in their memory whatever happened last, plus the emotional high or low that occurs between the beginning of the engagement and the end of it. So if you think of all the different things that are happening, all the highs and lows, those are going to have an impact, but they're going to hold in memory the last thing in addition to that. So again, that's why a recovery mindset is so important should you run into a mistake. So let's talk about the things that actually stand in the memory of your clients across these interactions. They're going to remember, were they friendly? Did I like these people? Was there an air of arrogance, or was it measured? Do I have things in common with them? Did I like their sense of humor? Could I see myself going out and having a beer with them? Secondly, did they do the job that I needed done? Or were they trying to sell me on additional services with more energy and fervor than they were trying to accomplish the task at hand? So things change, things pop up. It's how you deal with that in a way that helps the client think, are you really working on the things that we engaged you to work on? Are creative. These people are amazing at bringing really strong ideas to the table. I'm really glad I hired them. They came up with a solution that we would have never thought of. That's really important. Are they going to make me successful? Are they on the road to helping me really succeed in the project that I'm responsible for? This makes a lot of sense, but a lot of people kind of overlook this point. It's a lot about trust. So your client has to trust that you're not going to, make simple budget and time frame mistakes, but they also need to know, are you going to do everything you can to hold their hand to make sure that they win? Are they easy to work with? These people are, your clients have to think like, not only did they help me, summit the mountain, they were extraordinarily easy. Like I can't imagine having done it without them. And then lastly, do they understand me? I came to the project with a unique set of circumstances. Were they able to adapt to those and help me by understanding who I am and what I needed done? So those are the 6 things that contribute to the longer term memory. Are they friendly? Did they do the job I needed done? Are they creative? Are they going to help me win? Were they easy to work with? And did they really understand me? This is important because when you're thinking about, will this client sign on another project, or will they recommend us to some of their peers? This is what they're going to draw on to make that decision. So this is really important when you're thinking about like the NPS score. When people answer that question, how likely are you to recommend our products or services to a friend or colleague? When they, put their hand on their chin and they think about it for a second, this is where they go. So it's super important to think about that. So when you're looking at the checklist, this is an example of, when we map out all the interactions that our clients go through with their clients and their contractors and their, their other partners, etc. We look at every single one of these interaction components for every single interaction. So up here you see, the project manager is thinking through through a kickoff meeting. They're going through pre-design. They're, these are the different or the different people involved in this. It involves a lot of different internal roles. How am I opening up? How am I plugging in? How am I exchanging information? How well am I nailing it? Am I pulling things together and preparing for the next step? And then am I hitting all the emotional sides? Am I hitting all the logical sides of the interaction? And am I thinking about what's going to remain most indelible in their memory as a result of this interaction? So while this code references one out of potentially hundreds of interactions, this is how people go through the interaction really fast. When we were working with clients, this is a kickoff meeting. Excuse me. This is interaction, stage 1, interaction 8 out of probably, dozens in this first phase. They can rip through all of this stuff in a matter of minutes. And then it becomes second nature. So you don't have to be able to read this, but this is what it looks like when you put it on a card. So this sits by the phone of a lot of our clients so that they're just thinking about how do I approach the modality of the interaction, this phone call I'm about to make. How do I make sure I'm hitting all the emotional high points, the logical high points, and how do I make sure that the interaction that I'm about to have is going to last in the memory in a way that is going to be help us sustain this relationship. Lastly, the thing that you have to think about is client experience is going to live in the mind of your client no matter what. The important thing to think about is it's whatever they think it is. So you have the opportunity to change the way that they think about that experience. And hopefully the checklist that we've just gone over gives you a source of confidence about how you approach it. Our goal with this is really to cover all the logical and emotional bases along with the modality and the enduring impact components so that you understand how everybody in your firm can, pull it all together and move into every single interaction with that sense of what it takes to ensure your client has the best possible experience. So thank you guys. We are happy to share this information. We hope it was helpful. If you believe we can be of help, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We love doing this stuff because it helps you be the best version of yourself. And that's something that keeps us driving. Thanks.